Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing another video in my top 10 series. This is where I rank all the popular makeup and share with you my top 10. So today we are doing eyeshadow palettes, and for this one, honestly, the placement changes, I feel like, on the daily for these because there's so many good eyeshadow palettes out there. I feel like I could easily have made this 20. That I think are so good, but I did have to eliminate some of my favorites, honestly, to get it down to top 10. So this was very challenging for me, but I hope you enjoy this video nonetheless. I also wanted to give you guys a little update in this video because I did end up purchasing the new Maybelline Superstay Skin Tint, and I did place that in my skin tint ranking video. So it did make the top 10. I'm wearing it today. I just wanted to update you in case you wanted to see where this falls in terms of my personal ranking, but wearing it on my skin today. Just wanted you to know. So all the updates for this video, we're going to jump right in. This shouldn't be as long as my other top 10s as of lately. We're not doing cream, powder, separating categories. It's just strictly eyeshadow palettes. So let's jump into my top 10 eyeshadow palettes. I have a couple honorable mentions, and these were the ones I kind of kicked out of my top 10. So we have the Anastasia Beverly Hills palettes. I personally really like their formula. They didn't make it into my top 10 though. I have so many of their palettes. These are just a few of my favorites. My favorite from their old formula was Soft Glam. This was the one that I just used the most. This is very old. And then the newer formulations I just think are so fantastic. We have Nouveau and Rose Metals. I really love the Nouveau palette still. Still my favorite Anastasia, I would have to say. And also the Hindash palette, the first one, because I heard the second one was a little bit hard to blend, but this one is a makeup artist's dream. And I often use this as blush for a couple of these colors I'm just really drawn to. But I love the play that you can get with this palette because it is a gradient effect with the eyeshadows. So you can get literally any shade you want with this palette. So it's kind of my dream palette. However, just based on formula, I don't find it as easy as some of the others I'm going to mention. So that's why I had to kick it out. Though I love the concept of it, formula wise, it had to be kicked out of my top 10. Starting with my 10th place spot, we have Huda Beauty. And I have a lot of her palettes. I even liked her formula when she came out with her first palette, which looked like this, before she reformulated, because so many people hated this palette, this formula. I really liked it. It was the Textured Shadows palette, Rose Gold Edition. I never picked up the reformulation because I didn't think I needed it, but I have been purchasing not all of her palettes, but most of her palettes when they come out, if I'm drawn to the color story, and I've been a big fan of her formulas, different textures she has in the palettes, and her color stories. However, my personal favorite, still from Huda Beauty, would have to be Mercury Retrograde, and the palette looks like this. I love the whole design and concept of it. The colors in here are just really special, things that you won't see in my other palettes, I feel like. More pastel colors, lighter tones. I love the different kinds of finishes she included with this, as well as the unique colors for matte, because you can get green, purple, neutral. You can really go a bunch of different ways with this because of the matte tones in it. So I really like it for that reason. And that is why it is in my 10th place spot. For my 9th place spot, I feel like this brand needs more recognition than it has. And you're actually going to see a lot of indie brand makeup for my top 10 because I feel like they really need to be seen for their eyeshadow formulations. So we have the Bperfect Cosmetics Carnival palette, and I have the XL Pro palette here. They've come out with various versions of their Carnival palette over the years. This one is my personal fave and my most used. I even really like the highlights in this palette as well. But I always reach for this when I want to do a colorful look. This is my go-to for colorful shadows because I feel like they have the best blend out of all the colorful shadows that I've personally tried. So I really like it for that reason. But if you want to go neutral, cool, warm, whatever you want to go with for neutral colors, you can get it in this palette too. So it's really like a one and done eyeshadow palette. If you just wanted to cover all your bases in terms of fun colors, neutral everyday colors, you got it in here. But we have an honorable mention just from Bperfect Cosmetics in case you're not into all the colorful eyeshadows. Though that's what I recommend. This one's great. If you're a makeup artist, do wedding makeup, like soft glam makeup basically, which is my perfect favorite kind of makeup. This one has been my favorite. It's the Bperfect Cosmetics Clientele palette. This is the collaboration with John Makeup Artist, who I absolutely love. She does incredible makeup looks. So this is if you want just that kind of bridal look, soft glam makeup, as I said. It doesn't have all the fun colors in it, so that's why I reached for Carnival more than this, but if you wanted a basic palette, Bperfect makes some great palettes. So I highly recommend checking out their formula. They're slept on. I know a few people have tried them and really enjoy their formulations, but it's one that I just feel like more people need to know about, and at one point it was my number one. So that's the thing with these palettes. I'm just going by formula as of right now, and it's falling in my 9th place spot. In my 8th place spot is a brand that I'm not sure a lot of people will know about, but it is more, I'd say, Instagram famous. If you are on Instagram and know this makeup brand, it is Vanity Makeup. This packaging for me, one of my favorites, if not my favorites for packaging. It feels like a Pat McGrath palette. It is luxury. If you want a neutral, basic palette, like, she's beautiful. Okay, it is my favorite design for makeup palette. I'm just looking at it now. The weight of it, the color, the gold with this beautiful blush tone. It is immaculate, but it's not about that. It's not about the packaging here. You can have these cardboard Bperfect palettes. It's about the eyeshadow formula for me. So in this is so beautiful. This is like the Tati Beauty palette if you really like that. This is my favorite version of that sort of palette. It has a corresponding shimmery color with each of the matte shades, or you can just mix and match. But I love how you can go up and just see tonally how they would fit together. And the formulation of both the mattes and these beautiful shimmer glitter shades are just immaculate. This black right here is the blackest black eyeshadow I have personally ever used. Out of any black eyeshadow on the market is the one in this Vanity Makeup palette. It's ridiculous how saturated the color is. So if I ever want a super, super matte black, like that is my most used color in this palette, because I know dipping into here, I can get the deepest, smokiest look possible with that matte black, but the colors in here are just so stunning. It made it into my 8th place spot for that reason. This could go up in my top 10 because it is so pretty. If you're looking for soft glam everyday makeup, you want both shimmer and matte formula, check out Vanity Makeup. Then in terms of formula, my 7th place spot is from Vieve. And I've really wanted to try that 90s cool tone palette that she has. This is the first one she came out with. I love the size of the pans and the color story for this. I love how warm these colors are, because for the most part, I do warm makeup, even though right now I'm getting into cooler tones. But I really love this because of the formula and the color story. The quality of these eyeshadows are up there with obviously my favorite eyeshadows on the market, and I just think so many people would be happy with this. If any of these color stories are speaking to you, it could be your number one palette based on color story, because all have such fantastic formulas. I wouldn't be mentioning any of these in my top 10 if it wasn't for their really good formula. All these are so good. Let me know if you've tried the cool tone version. I really want to pick it up. Ever since I've been talking about the new Patrick Ta palette and how much I love the cool tones in there, people have been mentioning Vieve, and I never picked that one up, but now I kind of want to. So thank you for letting me know, but I'd love to know. Should I pick that one up? I want to know. And then for my 6th place spot, this, based on use and formula for me, I really enjoy, but for use for this palette, this was hard for me to place as well. This is from Too Faced. It's the Italian Spritz palette, and this is limited edition, I believe. The tin is nice because you can clean it easily, and I'm not a huge fan that they do scented eyeshadows, but for me, the color story of this I got so much use out of, and when I was doing bronze eyes like every single day, this was the palette that I was reaching for. I love how you can get it super warm with some of these tones, but also they have these really fun pops in here that you can just throw on and create some really fun looks. So you might think based on the palettes I show, I like more neutral, but it's not the case, because I do love some fun colors every now and then. And based on formula, color story for this is my favorite Too Faced has ever done. It has been my most used for that reason, because of their color story. They nailed it with this one. I wish it was more accessible because they sent this to me in PR and I personally haven't been able to find it in Canada. So please let me know if you've been able to find this in Canada. I absolutely love it though, and that's why it made it into my 6th place spot. Moving into my top 5. This is where it gets really exciting for me. Not that it hasn't been. Honestly, this is so hard. I'm gonna stop saying it was hard. This can change on the daily. So for my 5th place spot, there was a point that I was using this every single day. This is from Makeup by Cheryl, and this is the Master Mattes eyeshadow palette. I know recently people have been trying to compare this to other palettes on the market and seeing which one should I get. They're all good, okay? They're all really good. It just depends on what you like. Do you want more neutral to warm browns that are all matte? Go for this palette. If there's more cool tones you like, maybe get another palette. This personally is in my 5th place spot because for the most part, on a daily basis, I'm just using matte browns. Putting a matte in the crease, doing something a little bit deeper in the outer corner, and then grabbing something even darker to smoke along my lash line. Occasionally giving a pop to the lid. I keep it really basic for an everyday. So this has gotten so much use. You can tell when it starts getting dirty or I have nicks out of a bunch of the colors in here that it is used and well loved. So in my 5th place spot for a reason. And I just wanted to give a little shout out to this other limited edition Makeup by Cheryl palette, the Ethereal Eyes one. He relaunched this year, so it is in stock, I believe, on his website. I hope they bring it back to other retailers as well, but if you wanted this palette and it's sold out, he did bring this back, so happy about that. Just wanted to give you a heads up about this palette if you like the color story for ethereal looking eyes. It literally couldn't have been named more perfectly for this palette. Check it out because he did re-release it this year, which is so exciting to see. My 4th place spot, I feel like easily could be a number 1 because of how much I love the color story on this palette. This is from Lunar Beauty and it is the Nude Prism palette. When I tell you I couldn't imagine a more perfectly designed color story for me than this palette, it is perfection to me because you get these 2 rows of matte shades which are so easy to blend. This formula in the center is unlike anything I've tried because of how thin in pigment they are. You only need such a small layer and you get full pigment. It is insane. It's so beautiful. I feel like anyone who purchased this palette would be happy with it. There's nothing bad I could say about any formula in this palette. Lunar Beauty and Laura Lee Los Angeles released a palette recently. However, I still love this palette the most. This is my favorite. And it is from Lunar Beauty. And as I said, I'd be happy with just this palette in my collection because I can literally do any sort of look that I want to do for soft glam makeup while still having some pops of shimmer, which I do like to do occasionally for really glamming up my makeup. But again, such a good amount of mattes in here. I love the layout and color story of it. I just think it's so beautiful. We have the most palettes from any brand. This is so heavy, in my 3rd place spot. And you'd be like, you have so many of them. Why isn't number 1? Still, it's just in my 3rd place spot based on formula of things that I've personally used and my use of them. So we have Natasha Denona. I don't have every palette she's ever done, but I have quite a few. As you can see, to pick one would be like picking a favorite child, and that's just something that you cannot do. So I genuinely don't know how I could pick. I'm like breathing heavy for this. This shouldn't be that stressful, but apparently it is for me. Natasha Denona, the color stories she has come out with are literal perfection. I'm just along for her ride, her vision. Like that's why I'm drawn to this. And since she started doing these midi palettes, I just feel like that's where she shines because she does have those ones that are really expensive that I personally wouldn't say are worth the price. For me, I would just get a midi, but I do have a couple ones of the ones that were a little bit more pricey. I personally don't use them as much as my other palettes though. So if I had to pick one, because I'm looking at all these and it's hard, I think I would go with the My Dream palette. I love this. I think this is Natasha Denona's perfect palette for her. And I have to say, for me too, this probably would be it because the amount of depth you can get from this palette is just unmatched. Some of her other ones run a little light for me. This one has that depth, which I really gravitate toward, and her different kinds of finishes are really beautiful. And I love the ones that are a creamy matte that you can use for eyeliner. I just think she's nailed her formulas and has really shone since she came out with these midi palettes, which are better priced. If I had to pick my dream palette, third place spot, it is beautiful. But I feel like any Natasha Denona color story you really gravitate towards, you're gonna absolutely love it because it was genuinely really hard for me to pick my number one from her. For my second place spot, she holds a really special place in my heart. This one took me a while to purchase. I'm sure you can guess probably what this is. And it is Pat McGrath. Her palettes, her Mothership palettes, are so pricey. Truly, if you can find a color story you really love, it is worth it. Her formulas are unlike anything I've ever used and any of the palettes I'm going to mention. This could easily be my number one palette if it was more wearable. I'd say that's the only thing that makes it not my number one. I am wearing it on my eyes today. This is beauty put into eyeshadow. From the moment you unbox one of these palettes till you feel the weight of one of these, till you feel her eyeshadow formulation, you can see a difference just with showing it. How stunning these shadows are. And I'm wearing a bunch on my eyes today to create this look. I just feel beautiful when I wear this palette. That's all I can say. It is a joy to absolutely use her formula and to finally have decided on a palette that I thought was my favorite in terms of all the color stories she has came out with. This is the Mothership 9 Huetopian Dream Palette. If you have ever decided to pick up one of these palettes, definitely try and grab one of these during one of her many sales. You don't have to pay full price for one of these. She does sales all the time, so please wait for a sale to pick up one of these Mothership palettes. And this one is my personal favorite, though I would be happy with more of her palettes, but I made it a point to myself to wait for my perfect one, buy one of them, and really just appreciate her because she is expensive for me. I did a review on her, but I have been obsessed with this color story ever since purchasing it. And as I said, I could easily be number one. However, there are palettes from another brand, which I'm sure you can guess what it is now by process of elimination because I haven't mentioned it yet. That is my personal favorite palette for formula and for color stories and just versatility for these palettes. And I was debating which one would be my number one, but honestly, for use for me, this has to be it, and it's from Patrick Ta. So this is the first eyeshadow palette he ever came out with, and it is still my favorite one. Even though I've been going on and on about the new matte one, I have to say that this is my favorite one. My most used, this is busted looking. If you could see how messy this is up close, we're going in on this palette. I love this palette. Again, when I use this, I feel beautiful. I love the textures in this palette. I love the combinations of the mattes with the shimmers and just how they all coincide and go together. I love also the addition of the creams when you can deepen up a look, or for my personal favorite is smoking out eyeliner. It's included in here. I can totally skip using any sort of eyeliner because he has these creams included, which just make that process so easy. And the versatility, the looks, my overall use is why this is my number one palette. I love it so much. I can't say anything bad about this. Every time I wear it, as I said, I feel beautiful when I wear it. It is a beautiful, perfect palette for me. And I've been recently getting into the number 3, which is the all matte. And I've been wearing that so much because I really love the cool tones in here. But I would love to see something like this, the first one, but with cool tones. If he does that, you guys, come back to my channel because I'm going to be salivating if that were ever to release. And then he also has the Major Dimension 2 palette, which is more rosy, which is really romantic and beautiful, but still quite used from me, honestly, but just not as much as the first one. So I am using the third a lot right now, but if I were to have to pick one palette, it would be the first Patrick Ta for me, just based on use. Like, I use her all the time. So those are officially my top 10 best eyeshadow palettes on the market, ones that I recommend for formula. All these formulas are so good. It's just really color story, I feel like. What do you gravitate towards? That you would find your perfect palette in this video. So I hope this helps you out decide what it is out there. Maybe shine some light on some indie brands that you may not have heard of that have some fantastic formulas that deserve more love and recognition, I feel like. So thank you so much for clicking on this video, for hanging out with me and wanting to know my opinion on the top 10 best eyeshadow palettes on the market. I hope you enjoy this ranking series. Let me know what you want to see next in the ranking series in the comment section below, and I'll try to get to that for you guys. And I will see you guys in my next video.